Okay, let's play a little what if. What if no credit card could ever charge you more than 10% interest? Sounds pretty great, right? Like the perfect fix for all that crushing debt. But what if that simple solution could backfire, like spectacularly? We're going to break down why a policy that looks like an easy win for consumers might actually be a hidden trap. So where did this whole thing start? It all kicked off with this political threat, which the blog Purim's Place captured perfectly. A hard 10% cap on credit card interest. I mean, the idea itself is super simple, but that one sentence sent some serious shockwaves through the financial world. And it forces us to ask a really critical question. What would actually happen if this became law?
First things first, the political reality check. Let's look at why the author of this piece thinks this whole proposal is basically dead on arrival.
The source is, well, pretty blunt about it. They say a 10% cap is a political fantasy. Trying to push something like this through the American system, it's like trying to roll a giant boulder up a very, very steep hill. And the reason for that certainty really comes down to one powerful, timeless force: money. And that force has a price tag. We're talking $56 million. According to the source, that's how much bank lobbying groups spent in just 1 year. That is a mountain of cash, and it's all dedicated to making sure that policies threatening their profits, like a hard interest rate cap, never, ever see the light of day. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. The markets reacted in real time. The source points out that a company like American Express saw its stock drop 4% in a single day. That just shows you that the mere idea of this policy was enough to seriously spook investors and give the whole financial system a little shake. But, okay, for the sake of argument, let's just imagine it does pass. That brings us to the next big point, the chain of consequences. This is all about how this policy could end up hurting the very people it's supposed to help. And the source couldn't be clearer on this. They say the cap will hurt the riskier borrower even more, calling it a very, very, very bad policy. But hold on, what exactly is a riskier borrower? Well, a riskier borrower is really just anyone a bank thinks is more likely to not pay back a loan. It could be because of a low credit score or maybe an unstable income. Banks usually handle that risk by charging higher interest. So what happens when you take that tool away? Their whole business model has to change. And this is where the author predicts a really nasty downward spiral. It's like a domino effect. First, the banks just retreat. If they can't charge for the risk, they're just going to stop lending to that group, period. Then, all that access to normal credit just dries up. The mainstream options these folks relied on, gone. This desperation can then lead them to predatory options, like payday loans with insane interest rates. And at the very bottom of that spiral, the only option left might be illegal loan sharks. I mean, the difference is just so stark. Before this cap, a borrower has options, a path to a regulated bank. After the cap, according to the source, that path just vanishes, and a new, much more dangerous one opens up, one that leads straight to predatory and totally unregulated lenders. The policy that was meant to be a shield kind of becomes a shove into a much scarier financial world. So, if a price cap is the wrong tool for the job, what's the right one? Well, the source doesn't just criticize, it also offers up 4 alternative ideas for what might actually help people. So the blog lays out 4 totally different paths. First, using tech like peer-to-peer lending to connect borrowers directly with lenders for better rates. Second, a targeted government program. Not a huge blanket cap, but something focused on helping the people who are really struggling. Third is a pretty creative idea. Call on billionaires to actually fund debt relief. And finally, maybe the most fundamental idea of all, boosting financial literacy, even using things like cash rewards to get people to really learn the basics of managing money. So, when you boil it all down, the argument is this. High-interest debt is a really complex, tangled problem. A price cap is like trying to fix a delicate watch with a sledgehammer. The source argues we need more nuanced tools, like tweezers and a magnifying glass, to carefully untangle the problem instead of just smashing it and maybe making things even worse. And all this really leaves us with a pretty tough question. If a simple, really appealing idea like a 10% cap can have such dangerous, unintended consequences, then how do we solve this problem? The easy answer might just be the wrong one. So the real question is, what's the smart answer?